I'm James Barfield with Your Urban Connection, and I want to talk about the case of C.J. Lofton. Now, most of you know that C.J. is the 17-year-old that was involved in an altercation with law enforcement earlier this year. Now, the case has left many people, the family, friends, and bystanders wondering what really happened on the night in question. How was it and how is it that law enforcement was called on behalf of a gentleman who suffered with mental issues, who was having a bad night, and was asked several times by the local police department officials to submit himself to a mental evaluation. And more than one time he denied the request. So as the story goes, the resident where this altercation took place said that he did not want Mr. Lofton to spend the night there. So law enforcement officials say they had no other choice than to place him under arrest. And they used shackles and whatnot to place him under arrest and take him to the juvenile facility. And at the juvenile facility, what happened is very questionable and debatable. The officials at the juvenile facility claim that Mr. Lofton, who was 17 at the time, became belligerent, acted irrationally, and basically engaged in some physical activities. Now, what happened, according to them, was that Mr. Lofton was then placed in a cell, and next thing they know, 2 days later, he's dead. Now, they have denied there was any use of force that was utilized in handling Mr. Lofton. Now, a lot of people, upon hearing yesterday that the county attorney, pathologist, had ruled Mr. Lofton's death a homicide. Now, a lot of people begin saying, well, see, I told you so, we knew it. But you overlooked one fact, and I want to say this to you. Don't start jumping for joy just yet. Because what you heard was homicide. And there are several variations of homicide. And what you did not hear was negligent homicide. So now, even with the ruling of homicide, the biggest player in this game now becomes the district attorney. And the district attorney, in a news conference today, tried to alert all of you not to get too excited just yet. Because, as he said, just because the coroner has ruled it a homicide doesn't mean that there will be any charges filed against anybody. Now, you must know that we've seen this many times before. So here's the reason I tell you not to get too excited and don't start jumping for joy. We've seen on many occasions in this country, in this city, certain African-American men in particular be killed at the hands of law enforcement, only to have the DA say it was justifiable, even if it was a homicide. It was justifiable homicide. Now, he today said that this decision by the coroner is looked at differently than law enforcement looks at it. So what is he telling you? He is telling you that where you and I might think the term homicide automatically means there will be charges filed, there will be a trial held, and a verdict will be rendered that would be in favor of the victim. Nothing could be further from the truth. We've seen this movie too many times to be under the illusion that this decision by the coroner is surely going to lead to some justice for C.J. Lofton. Now, I want you to understand something. Why I say the DA has now become the biggest player in this game, and I'm going to use that term game, because we all must realize that the district attorney and members of law enforcement are like first cousins. They look out for each other. And so basically what I understood from what the district attorney had to say today is, don't you all be surprised if there are no criminal charges filed in the case in the death of C.J. Lofton. Now, it would be nice if that happened, but I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised if it doesn't happen. Like I said, you and I have seen this movie too many times before to get ourselves all in a twisted knot and jumping for joy, only to be let down. The DA says no charges will be filed. Yes, this was a homicide, but it was a justifiable homicide. So I just want to tell you, don't get your high hopes up yet. This is just the first inning of a 9-inning ball game. And I can assure you right now, on this day, January the 29th, 2021, that not a single member of the Wichita Police Department is going to take responsibility for the death of C.J. Lofton. Not a single member of the sheriff's office is going to take responsibility for the death of C.J. Lofton. And not a single member of the juvenile justice employees is going to take responsibility for the death of C.J. Lofton. It's going to take a ton of evidence. And I would suggest that the family of C.J. Lofton hire their own pathologist to do his own investigation into exactly what happened to C.J. Lofton in that juvenile detention facility. I mean, you're going to have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was an unjustified homicide. Because I guarantee you, the state, the city, the county is going to do everything in their power to prove otherwise. Now, first of all, you've heard before that he had drugs in his system. That's an old cliche. We've heard it many times, more often than not. If it's a black male that dies at the hands of law enforcement, the first thing they say, he had drugs in his system. Well, the coroner says there was one non-lethal drug that was found in the system, and that was a small amount. It's clearly not enough to warrant his death. But they're going to find any and everything they can to prove that this death, having been ruled a homicide, was justifiable. Mark my words. You heard it here first. I'm James Barfield for your Urban Connection.